of the whole woman. We are so excited to have with us a representation of women from as young as those in their teens to those who are 70 plus. So it's going to be a good panel today. So at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Kaden Adams up to the stage. She's going to introduce our panelists. She's going to tell us a little bit about them, but first a little about Kaden. She is a student at Centennial Magnet Middle School, where she is on the AB Honor Roll, and she loves to play basketball. So she's going to share our panelists' names, their school or occupation, and what they like to do in their leisure time. So at this time, I'm going to pass the mic over to Cadence. She's also going to tell you what decade of womanhood they are representing today. All right, Ms. Cadence.
All right, hello everyone. Good morning. This is Tips and no, I'm playing. All right. I'm here to introduce your panelists for today. First up, Mother Joanne Bird in her 70s works as a companion with visiting angels and loves chatting with people. Second, we have Regina Willis, who is not here with us today, in her 60s, who is retired after 30 years supporting students with disabilities at colleges and universities in her free time. In her free time, she likes tackling large puzzles, framing them once completed, and is currently working on a 1,000-piece puzzle. Third, we have Nicole Campbell in her 50s, who is a human services supervisor who loves photography. Fourth, we have Maria Barber in her 40s, is a senior public service manager and the Lady Commissioner of Ball Hers Choice Sports LLC, and when she's not managing the field, she likes watching flag football. In her 20s, Adea Adams is a full-time student who loves reading and is currently juggling 3 books at once. And Trinity Sessoms is a teen at East Wake High School who loves African American history and spends her free time participating in competitive cheer. Let's welcome the folks again.
All right, thank you so much, Kaden, for for introducing our panel today. And thank you, our special guests, for being here today. We're excited to have you. All right, so today's questions, we're going to explore 4 pillars that are so important to the experience of women at any age. We're going to look through the lens of being a woman in 2026 through spirituality, social connections, mental health, and physical health. They're going to answer one question from each of the pillars, and they're going to be displayed on the monitor so you guys can see them as well. And if you in the congregation, you guys can participate too. If you have some input that you'd like to share, feel free to raise your hand and we'll have someone to bring you the mic. Also, as a ground rule, we just want you to remind that some of the experiences that are shared, they could be, they might be personal. They're definitely going to be personal to people, but we also want to make sure that we are maintaining confidentiality. So when you speak about different situations or if you speak, we want you to speak more generally. We don't want y'all calling anybody out by name. You can give them a fake name. You can give them their first initial. But again, we want to protect people's confidentiality. So again, when you're speaking, just speak in general terms as we're going along. All right. So the first pillar that we're going to discuss today is spirituality. We're going to have the questions on the monitors for you to follow along with us. So for spirituality, our panel had the opportunity to read over and think about 3 different questions. So the first one was, how has your understanding of spirituality evolved over the years? What spiritual beliefs or rituals have you kept from childhood, and which have you outgrown? And how do you discern the difference between intuition and fear? So these are all very good questions. And we're going to start with Mother Bird, and she's going to let us know which question she answered, and then we're going to have a little conversation about that concerning spirituality. So Mother Bird, which question did you answer today? We gotta get out. Uh-oh. Pardon the little difficulties. All right, we're gonna
about understanding spirituality. I come to you with a different point of view, being younger than these other ladies up here. I have gotten young again. With going to different churches and learning different things when I started out in my early 20s, being able to go to join a church for the first time on my own is not being a child, but as an adult. I learned some things then, but down through the years, went to different churches and different cities and different places, and you learn something new everywhere you go. But I learned the main thing that you're always learning, even here, now, today, this morning, I learned something new about the Word of God. And I learned that He will never change. He will never fail. I learned how to trust Him on my early journey. I learned how to wait on Him, not always being patient, but I learned that He will never fail me. He has been all that I needed. He has been a mother when I came to North Carolina. Well, my mother passed away when I was 12, so I really didn't know a mother's love. But I met women here that showed that mother's love, and I learned that God will be a mother, a father. Anything I need, that's what He will be to me. And so that's how I've grown, and now He's putting children in my life. Not only the ones that I birthed, but the ones that I met in my Christian journey, how we become family. I learned that my spiritual family was closer than my natural family because we have a different connection.
Thank you, Mother Bird, for sharing that. I like how you went through and from your perspective, as you said, being younger than all of us here at the table, have you talked about your experience and how you've continued to learn? And I think that's so important for us to do. Make sure that we are constantly learning and studying to show ourselves approved. But also you talked about how God can be so much at various points in your life and the connection to our spiritual family as well. Now, did any of the rest of you answer that same question? No? Maybe? Yeah. All right, Miss Trinity, what were your thoughts on that question? How has your understanding of spirituality evolved over the years?
When I was little, I would go to my mom after to meet every little inconvenience and tell her, let's pray. Like when I wouldn't get my way, I would tell her, let's pray, hoping that would work. But as I got older, I realized you do have to pray about things.
That's so true. You do, and that's going to be so important, again, along on your journey, remembering to pray, right? And to build your own relationship with the Lord. I like that. Thank you guys for sharing that. All right, we're going to move on to our next pillar, which was social connections, right? So soon our questions are going to be up on the monitor for you to follow along. So the questions that our panel had to consider today are, what qualities make you feel truly seen and supported by others? What's something you wish more women talked about openly? And who in your life has inspired you to grow? and why? All right, so for this question, can we start with you, Miss Maria?
So the question that I answered was, what's something you wish more women talked about openly? And I think that we spend so much time and energy trying to be perfect. Like, we wear a mask every day. And so I wish that more women would be more vulnerable to each other, because a lot of times we think we're in the struggle alone, but many times we all have the same issue. Many of us are, struggling with childhood trauma or self-esteem or being career-driven and really wanting to get ahead. But many times we hide behind our mask. Like, everything is okay, I'm fine, my makeup is good, my life is perfect. But when we learn to be vulnerable with each other, we're stronger together because we can help each other get where we need to be.
Now, that's awesome. Now, you said a mouthful. That is certainly true. I can agree with everything you said, and I'm sure many of our audience members would as well. Now, did any of the other of you answer that same question? All right, Ms. Nicole, will you share your response?
Yes. I really wish that women would talk more about aging, the different twists and turns that we face. I really feel that it could be better navigated if the stories would be told.
Yes, absolutely.
I wish that women felt safe enough to be vulnerable with their testimonies. We, as multiple generations, we need those stories of how you overcame, whether you had a child out of wedlock, whether you went through an abusive relationship, whether you faced some addictions. We need those stories because there's hope and there's redemption and there's freedom. You can break bondage by you telling your testimony. So I wish women would do that more.
Very good, very good. That's so true. I know, like, the private summers have caught me a bit off guard. and sometimes they're a little warmer than others. So definitely, if we would share some stories specifically about aging. I know this question is not one of them, but why do you think we aren't more vulnerable to share? And anybody on the panel can answer that question. Why do you think we aren't more vulnerable to share?
I think we are afraid to let people know that we have shortcomings in our lives. And we all have. You know what? I had to learn, and I'm going to tell this little story about coming to this church. I had, looking for a church, had no idea where I wanted to go, but I know it was time for me to go. And I prayed about it. I was praying about it one night, and I was away from my church like for 3 weeks because I had several things to go to. So I was just praying, and I didn't really pray that night. But the Lord told me, he said, go to Fulfill Promise. And he said, he told me to get over there. And he let me know that I wasn't perfect and nobody in here is. And he said, get over there. And Joanne Bird got up and she went. The next morning, we went to a service at another church. My brother-in-law lived in Elon. Well, he was in Durham at the time. He lived there. And when the thing broke up, we had dinner. And he came up to me and he was like, Joanne, when did you join Keisha's church? And I said, I was shocked because I prayed about it. I didn't pray about it that night. I had been praying, but this church wasn't on my radar. So God just confirmed that. This is where he wants me to be. And it has been a change in my life. I feel free, no longer bound by things from the past, from other churches, getting hurt. You know, we need to let people know, especially when people come into our churches. You don't know how they come hurt, wounded, with all kind of bondage on them for us to show love, and that's what Pastor's teaching about this year. The love one another. In loving each other, we tell them about Jesus. And it's a blessing and it's a privilege to be vulnerable. Hey, I'm hurting today. And sometimes you can see it on people's face, just the hurt and the pain that they're going through. So don't be afraid to get out the boat. Young people are different from us. This world is so different, but let's be vulnerable. Let's be open. Let's be loving, and let's be kind to one another. And we'll show the love of Jesus, and that's what will draw you. Because I was drawn with the cords of love, how I came in hurt and beaten and wounded, and you loved on me. You showed your love and your kindness to me, and that helped me to heal. And when I get healed, I can help someone else along the way.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. I know belonging, needing to belong in love is not just surface level. It's one of our physical needs. We physically need to be loved. We physically need to feel like we belong. And I love your point, and just a reminder that when people do come in, we certainly do want to make them feel welcome. We don't know what we're bringing in, and even us that, are here, pretty much every Sunday, you don't know from one day to the next what that person is carrying. So greeting them in love and just loving on them, like you said, is so powerful. And again, just all the connections that we need. And as a reminder to not isolate yourself. When you can, and I'm preaching to the choir, I definitely will come out and come to church, but a lot of times in other social situations, I can be perfectly okay to kind of sit back in the corner, eat by myself. But again, it's just a reminder, I think, that I need to, that social connections aren't always just for you. Somebody else, they might need that connection that you can provide. So it's not just about you. You want to make sure that you are being open, being friendly, and making an effort to be welcoming to others. All right, we can move on to our next pillar, and that is one of mental health, which again is very, very important. So the questions that our panel had the opportunity to answer are here on the screen concerning mental health. How do you know when you're reaching your limit, and what helps you reset? What's one belief about yourself you're working on unlearning? And what boundaries have improved your mental health and well-being the most? All very good questions. Let's see. Who can we start with? We haven't heard from Miss Adea. Do you mind answering this question first? Tell us what question you answered.
So I answered the third one. What boundaries have helped you improve your well-being the most? So I say that I have to stop being as open with people as soon as I begin a relationship with them, because you never know what a person's intentions are. So I like to be more reserved in the beginning, but I also had to learn that I don't have to be reserved the whole time, because I can usually sit back and not talk and mind my business. But that's not, sometimes it's okay to be yourself. You don't have to be all the way turned down. And I also like to make sure that I'm making, not pushing all my insecurities onto other people. Sometimes it's easy to be oh, well, you have this problem, or I have this problem, so do you. So, but that's not healthy relationships, and that can lead to toxicity. So I try to be more mindful of what I have going on, and not pushing it onto other people.
I like that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's a good point. I like that perspective too. Sometimes you do have to, you may need to guard yourself and be a little more reserved in the beginning until you get to know someone, or until that relationship has a chance to grow. So you do have to have boundaries. And I know sometimes we can feel guilty about those boundaries, but sometimes they are necessary. Did anyone else answer that same question? Not this time? No? All right, what about maybe one of the other questions? Can we look at one of the other ones? Who would like to share how they answer just one more of the mental health questions? Let's see. Ms. Nicole, okay, thank you.
I answered the question about knowing your limits and how to reset. I think that's going to be very important to your whole well-being. And I will share, I will be vulnerable. I get to practice what we just talked about. I can tell when I have reached my limit, I start to feel like a heaviness physically in my body. I start to slow down. I can become really tired. Sometimes I'm unmotivated. Sometimes I'm just not on my A game. Sometimes I may have brain fog. And I tend to retreat inward. I am a true introvert, and sometimes I forget to come back out.
I like that.
And something will happen, and I may be needed for something. I was like, oh, I got to come back out. Okay.
Right.
Some of the things that I do to reset myself is I unplug from social media. I try to be mindful of the present right now. I try to be mindful of daily bread. That means this bread is for 24 hours. It's not for tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself, but he gave me just enough for today. And then, of course, connecting with family and friends. I like to laugh, so comedy. Coloring, journaling, and of course, good old ocean therapy. Those are my things that I use to reset.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I think that question was very important. Sometimes we may not realize when we are reaching our limits, so you have to really start to think about those things and just kind of take stock of yourself. Thank you for sharing like the physical symptoms or the physical feelings that you're actually feeling, because we might think that, we might discount those feelings as something else, or we might just ignore them, but it's important to listen to your body and to know when you are reaching your limit, because we all have one. So we want to know like when we're getting close to it so that we can reset. And I love some ocean therapy too, and a little shopping. A little shopping. A little shopping. It's fun too. Yes.
I just want to add, don't underestimate the power of a nap. That's the one thing we didn't want to do as kids, but it's a blessing when you can get one in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Mother Bird?
I want to speak on that too, because sometimes when I get tired, being younger, I have to remember that I'm grandma, and sometimes when I go to work, I really don't do anything on my job. I'm just sitting there with a lady. But sometimes when I come home, I'm physically tired. Physical is tired. I'll go to my room and close the door and get in the bed. I have to get into bed early. I might wake up later because I go to sleep so early sometimes. But anyway, I go home and go to bed. And if I'm at work and I can't do what I need to do, I'll start singing or a song. God will deliver me through a song or come to my mind. Words of encouragement through music. I love music, and it's always been a part of my life. So, but I listen to different kinds of music, but he'll always bring something to mind to calm me down when because we know what we can do and what we can't do. Sometimes I used to could push it, but I'm 70 now. I see a little difference. Life bring about a change. Right. Young people, keep on living.
Absolutely. Life does bring about changes, and we have to learn to be responsive to all of the changes and all of the seasons of life. So thank you for sharing that. The power of a nap, I agree. It's a great thing. Very, very refreshing. Sometimes my naps can turn into a little sleep, but it's still very important to recognize your body. And when it's telling you need to rest. I encourage people to take days off if you can. You don't have to just continue to push. You do need a break. So listen to your body and respond accordingly. All right, so next, physical health. And I love to tell my students at school, mental health and physical health are equally important. When you break your arm, you don't not go to the doctor to see about it. So again, with your mental health, you want to make sure that you are taking care of that, as well as your physical health. And a lot of times our physical health really can impact our mental health. So the questions that we're going to consider today on our panel concerning physical health are, what does feeling strong mean beyond your physical appearance? How does your body tell you it needs rest, nourishment, or movement? And what's a habit you're proud of building or that you want to build? All right, so our panel for this one, we hadn't heard from you in a while, Trinity. Let's come back to you. Let's see what you said about physical health. Which question did you answer concerning physical health?
For a habit you're proud of for building or want to build, I would say when y'all come up to me and tell me I look like I don't want to be somewhere because my resting facial expressions look mad, and y'all tell me to smile because I'm a pretty girl. So I'm going to work on fixing my face and smiling more.
Okay, thank you. Very good. We love to see your smile. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And Miss Regina, who couldn't be physically with us today, she shared a little bit about physical health. So I'm going to share just a little bit about what she had to say. So in 2003, she was diagnosed with a chronic illness. The illness and diagnosis altered the way that she lived and forced her to pay close attention to her rapidly changing body. She had to follow a strict diet, get 12 hours of sleep, and go to physical therapy. In addition to the physical and mental regime, the medical team recommended that she was prescribed different medications, and she decided for her health and well-being that she would work collaboratively with the medical professionals. So she followed the recommended diet, because once we get information, we got to do something with it, right? She established a sleep schedule. She moved in spite of the pain, and she took the prescribed medications daily, which is very important to take them daily. So she's been living with a chronic illness for the past 23 years. The body speaks and the mind listens. However, there are days when the body and mind cannot get on one accord. She steps in and declares that a pajama day. So in her opinion, there is nothing that soothes the body, restores the mind, and rejuvenates the soul like a pajama day. Last but not least, she enjoys a full body massage. So thank you, Ms. Regina, for sharing that. It's very important to listen to your body. And again, echo, a lot of times we'll have information and we'll know what to do, but we might not do it as we're supposed to. So this was a good reminder, too. Once we get the information, we got to do something with it. And as she took her medicine daily, we got to remember to be consistent with whatever has been prescribed or whatever we need to do. Did anybody else on our panel answer this question?
Answer this question because, like Regina said, with illness in your body, we know that by his stripes we are healed, but I still have to take medication daily. I try not to miss it. If I do, I go back and take it. I have to drink plenty of water because I work with a lot of seniors and they do not drink enough water. They take all of these strong medications, but you gotta have water for your body. So I try to drink at least 4 bottles a day, and sometime I go over. And then I also have to eat right as well, because being a diabetic, you can't eat anything. But that's an illness that I brought on myself. I remember when I was younger, my doctor told me about stressing over things that you cannot change. That will, different things in your life will bring on illness in your body. So we have to take care. And I try to do that. And I also am proud that a couple of years ago, I was way overweight. I'm short, but I was way overweight. And I had to get on the bandwagon and lose some weight. I did start out with just something simple, but after that, I lost 14 pounds, and that encouraged me to keep going. So after that, I just stopped eating. I cut out sugar. Is bad for all of us. I cut out sugar. I cut out a lot of things. I mean, I went berserk. I really did. I had a client that we used to go out and eat every Friday. And when we went out to eat, the girls at the restaurant, they knew me. And they knew when new people come to work, they say, she's not going to get anything but this. This is what she's going to get. But I had to take care of Joanne. My goal was, they took me off. I was on insulin. They took me off. But then I started eating like I wasn't on insulin. So when I got to the doctor and that A1C come out, I know I had to make some changes. So I just, by the help of the Lord, and I heard my husband say to me in a voice, because God will speak in many ways, that food is an addiction. We might not look at it like that, but it is. Like they said, when we get overwhelmed, sometimes we like to go shopping and spend money, or we like to eat. So I learned how to eat to live, not eat to fill my stomach up. So I was thankful that God gave me grace to lose this weight, and I had a lot of complaints from my family, and it was always the ones that was overweight and needed to lose some weight. But they was talking about being so small, but I'm happy. I feel good in my body, and that's good for my health.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely, we do have to make the changes, right? We have to make changes and follow along with what the doctors prescribe. So very good. Let's see, how are we doing on time? We're doing okay? Okay. All right, so I would like to explore one more of those questions about physical health. Did anyone answer the question about what does feeling strong mean beyond your physical appearance? Did anybody answer that question up here? You did? Okay, thank you.
For this question, I realized that strength starts in our mind, and just really learning how definitely you are what you think you are. And so it's all connected. So to feel strong, number one, you have to start out with the belief that you are strong. And so a lot of times, especially thinking about a health journey that I've been on all my life. But, people often talk about weightlifting and things like that. But you have to really focus on the muscle. You have to focus on your core, all these different things. But it starts with your mind. And if you don't have the mind to be disciplined, if you don't have the mind to push yourself, that's my problem, is I know what to do, but I won't add 20 more pounds to that bar. So it's more than physical, but it's really that mental aspect of this is what I need to do, this is what that looks like, and really setting yourself up for success.
Absolutely. Thank you. I like that. It starts in your mind. Absolutely. So many things do start in our mind, right? Pretty much everything does start with our mind. So I like that. Once your mind is strong, then, and you think you can do something, then you really can. Adea, can we hear from you? Any thoughts that you have about physical health?
I'd have to agree with Aunt Maria. I definitely think that strength does start in your mind. And if you're not strong there, you won't be strong anywhere. So you have to get up out of bed and say, I'm gonna do this today, and then really focus on that and prioritize what you're set out to do so you can be successful in life. I mean, of course, there are going to be days where you don't really want to do anything and you don't want to think about anything. But on the days that, like, if you have a goal and you're trying to pursue that consistently, then you have to continue having mental strength so you can get the result that you want.
Absolutely. Brilliantly answered. Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, those are the end of the questions that we have here. I would love to thank our panel for being here and being vulnerable and sharing their personal experiences. You guys did a great job, and you know, I think everyone can take away some little nuggets from all of the answers that our panel shared. I do believe making sure all of these 4 pillars are cared for will help us certainly enter into our soft girl era, as they're saying now. Again, this discussion has been really great, has been really fruitful. So thank you all for taking this journey with us. All right, we'd like to thank again our panel.
Let's give our panel another big round of applause as they're exiting the stage. They did such a beautiful job. And to Michelle, the facilitator, did such a wonderful job leading them through the questions. You all did an awesome job. So thank you all for participating, and thank you, audience, for your participation as well in supporting them. As we are moving right along through service, we're going to get prepared for our opportunity to give. So if you would like, and I'm sure they'll put the information on the screen as well for the different ways that we can give also. Yes, and our deacons are coming as well to pass out envelopes if you would like those. As you can see on the screen, we have multiple ways to give here, so please feel free to do that. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna stay down. Awesome. Thank you all so much. We have had an awesome service today. We thank you for staying with us throughout this time and enjoying our panel. Thank you again to our leaders of our Women's History Month this month. We are celebrating the month of the woman. Amen. So March is the celebration of the month of the woman. I think maybe today or in a couple of days, International Women's Day is also coming, which is celebrated. It's tomorrow. Thank you, Ree. So International Women's Day is tomorrow, and there's always a lot of information that comes out on that day that honors whatever the perspective is that we're sharing. I didn't do the research before coming today to see what the point of celebration will be for International Women's Month, or International Women's Day, which is tomorrow. But just know that a lot of us are professional women. We may work from home. We may work remote. Some of us go into buildings. We all go into our different marketplaces, regardless of what those look like. And women are still facing challenges. It's an age-old issue. Even back to the Bible days. We can take it back to the Bible if we wanted to, in terms of the way women were perceived, as well as the way that women were recognized and celebrated and honored. But we have the opportunity to ensure that as we continue and move forward in our years and in our celebration of women, that we create change. Every one of us can create change for the next woman that is coming. We have daughters, we have nieces, we have aunts, and all of those. So we have to be those who are creating change and celebrating women. I'm so happy to be a part of a church family that believes in the celebration of women during Women's History Month and all throughout the year. Just like Black History, we celebrate Black History all year long, right? So no difference there. So thank you all so much for joining us today and for worshiping with us. Yes, ma'am.
I have to apologize to Miss Regina, who's tuning in with us. I was so focused. I guess I was laser focused on one thing and I missed another. So Miss Regina did share some of her responses concerning some of the other topics that we discussed today. And one of the first was around spirituality. So that question was, how has your understanding of spirituality evolved over the years? And what spiritual beliefs or rituals have you kept from childhood and which have you outgrown? So I'll read Mrs. Regina's response for that. I grew up Catholic and attended Catholic school for 12 years. From grades 1 through 8, part of the Catholic curriculum consisted of all students attending afternoon Mass on Friday. In addition to attending Mass, students were also encouraged to participate in confession. Some background on confession and thoughts and ideals of the confessional process. So the student would enter the confessional. Confession would begin with the student making the following statement: "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." After making the statement, the student would tell their transgressions to the priest. The priest would listen to the student, and at the end of the confession, the priest would tell the student what they needed to do to be absolved of their sins. The priest might instruct the student to say 3 Hail Marys and the Lord's Prayer. Before the student left the confessional, the priest would say, "Go and sin no more." The student would leave the confession booth and go to the altar and pray for forgiveness. The spiritual beliefs I've outgrown and no longer practice. Since I no longer practice Catholicism, I don't participate in confession. In my youth, I attended midnight Mass on Christmas Eve and participated in a ceremony in some way, shape, or form. While I still attend midnight Mass, I don't have an active role in the ceremony. I still do the Stations of the Cross during Easter. The Stations of the Cross is a Catholic Lenten devotion meditating on 14 key moments of Christ's Passion. My mother was a devoted member of the Catholic community. When my mother was in her last stages of life, she would ask me to hold her hand and say a few Hail Marys. The Hail Mary is a central Catholic prayer asking for the intercession of the Virgin Mary. I say Hail Marys in remembrance of my mother as a result of my Catholic upbringing. So that was Miss Regina's perspective and sharing on spirituality. For social connection, she shared that all the older women in my life have inspired me to grow in one way or another. However, my grandmother had the greatest impact on my growth and development. My grandmother died many years ago, but her words of wisdom still resonate within me. My grandmother was a strong pillar in her community, and she was well respected in the community. What I admired most about my grandmother was her willingness to serve God, her family, and her community. When I think about my grandmother, I think of her kind and compassionate spirit. She brought joy, love, and laughter to friends, family, and anybody she came in contact with. The attitudes and behaviors my grandmother displayed were intricately woven into the fiber of existence. I think of my grandmother as a powerhouse. I don't consider myself to be a powerhouse. However, if my grandmother was a powerhouse and I'm cut from the same cloth, I guess that makes me a powerhouse. And concerning mental health, Ms. Regina shared that that she knows when she's reached her limit is when she begins to perseverate on things, or when the slightest diversion from the norm aggravates and irritates her. To reset, I reach out to a trustworthy friend and discuss the situation, the circumstances, and come up with some possible solutions. When I want a truly unbiased opinion, I reach out to a licensed professional. I also put together puzzles. Working on puzzles soothes my soul, calms my nerves, and gives me the sense of peace. I'm able to reset when I do some type of physical activity. Listening to music can also be a way to reset. All right, so thank you, Ms. Regina, for sharing those responses, and I'm sorry I omitted those the first time around.
Thank you, Michelle, for the addition of Miss Regina's responses. We were talking about this in our home last night because Michael actually grew up as Catholic. And so you don't look at his face now. You don't know, can't tell it now. Can't tell it now. But he did grow up as Catholic. But I'm very thankful for, as we continue to grow and learn, we transform and we learn more, and we, like my mom said, because we now learn more and we've had all these different experiences, they aid into who we are, but we have grown into knowing that we are very thankful that we don't have to wait to get to the Catholic Church to sit down with the priest with an appointment to ask God for forgiveness. That we have access to our Father through the Son, Jesus Christ. And if I am sitting in my car and need to ask for forgiveness, or I need to have a conversation with God, I can do it immediately. So we thank God for the blood of Jesus and for how he has, we have free access to him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So very thankful for that. As well. So thank you all for your bearing with us through your with your patience. We are so grateful and thankful for what we've seen already for Women's History Month. Pastor Sandeb or Sister Nicole, any additional comments or announcements for what's coming next? Okay, so Pastor is Lady. So the guest speaker next week is Lady Cynthia White. Thank you. Lady Cynthia White, who is coming. So please feel free to come back with us and share again. And then we'll round off the month with Pastor Saina Davis, who will be coming to join us as well. So thank you all so much. Thank you for joining us online. We hope you have enjoyed our service as well. Okay, awesome. Thank you.